this lesson I'm going to talk a little bit more about perfect intervals. So now that you already know how to spell thirds and invert them, the remaining intervals are going to be a lot easier to learn. So perfect intervals, abbreviated with a P, are going to include fourths and fifths and octaves, and I'll even put this one down. A 1 would be a unison, and I can't play that on the piano because it's the same note played twice, so you need two different instruments to create a unison, but it's also considered perfect. So first I'm just going to make a fourth, like this. And you might notice that it goes from a line to a space when you write a fourth. Or it could be like this, from a space to a line. So they have a really characteristic look on the staff. And we're going to invert one of these. So this first one, I'm just going to keep the C where it is, and I'm going to wrap the G around it and put it in the other octave. So like that. And then I can just kind of take that away. So I had that fourth, and it inverted to a fifth. So of course, 4 plus 5 equals 9, and we know that when we invert intervals, we get 9. But what about the perfect part? Because it was perfect fourth and perfect fifth. It turns out that if something's perfect and you invert it, it's still perfect. So that's kind of easy to remember. So perfect equals perfect when you invert it. So now let's try a couple others that might involve some accidentals. So we're just going to notate a couple of intervals here. So we're going to start with, how about a perfect fourth up, like this. Okay, so with this one, you can kind of think back about major thirds. Major thirds are just 1/2 steps smaller than perfect fourths. Okay, so that means that if a major third has 4 half steps, then perfect fourths must have 5. Okay, that also tells you that if you invert a perfect fourth with its 5 half steps, you're going to get something with 7 half steps, because 7 and 5 is 12. So 4 half steps. So sometimes people have all kinds of tricks for this. If you happen to know that F to A is a major third, you could just go up a half step like this. Half step up from A is B flat, and that's going to give you a perfect fourth. That's one way you can do it. But you can also do it another way. You can count F, G, A, B. So you know it's some kind of a B. And then you have to check how many half steps you have. So let's look at the piano. We've got, here's our F, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we just left the notes as they are, we get this sound. Now your ear might tell you that this is a really harsh sound. It doesn't sound like a perfect interval. So that alone could tell you that something is wrong. Okay, so now we're going to go the way I first showed you, which was, let's say you happen to know F to A is your major third. I'm going to raise that up half a step. F to B flat gives me my perfect fourth. And then we can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's the 5 half steps, like that. So we're going to look back up here and try a couple more. So I'm going to put my flat right here. There's my perfect fourth. So let's do a fifth. How about this one? I'm going to do a perfect fifth up. Okay. So you can start by just counting F. Oh, that gives me a C. Some kind of a C. Now, when I play this on the piano, it's going to sound very, very dissonant. And the nice thing about fifths is two things. First of all, if one note is on a space, the other one will also be on a space. If one's on a line, the other one will be on a line. So you kind of get to know how they look, just like you get to know the way fourths look. Okay, so I know I have them on the right place in general. I'm just not sure about the accidentals. Well, the other nice thing about perfect fifths is that they're usually going to have the same accidental. Okay, not always. So we'll look at an example where that's not true. Usually they're going to have the same accidental, like that. Now, if you want to verify this to make sure this is actually right, there are a couple ways you can do it. So back over here on the keyboard, I had F sharp, and the first thing I played was just, or I wrote, was just a C, and that's that really dissonant sound. F sharp to just a C natural. Okay, that's actually way too dissonant for a perfect interval. So then I thought, well, they usually have the same accidental in front of them, right? F sharp to C sharp. Now we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 half steps, and I know that has to be true because a perfect fourth has 5. 5 plus 7 is 12. Okay, so let's look at it in one more way. I'm going to invert this and make sure that it inverts to a perfect fourth. Okay, so I'm going to keep my F sharp the way it is, and I'm going to take that C sharp and move it down to the previous octave. Okay, and that sounds like a perfect fourth, but I want to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 half steps. And I'd rather count 5 half steps than 7 half steps. So if I'm going to count, I'm going to count the inverted interval and then invert it back to where it was. So we're going to look at an example where perfect fifth doesn't have the same accidental, kind of like the perfect fourth over here had 2 different accidentals. So let's try this one. So now I'm going to try to write a perfect fifth down from F. And it turns out that when you're writing fourths or fifths and you're using these notes F and B, you tend to get some kind of funny things that happen. And the reason for that is that the keyboard is not symmetrical. There are, as you remember, on the white keys of the piano, there are half steps between B and C and E and F, and all the other ones have whole steps. So that means that even though something might be true in one case, like the 2 sharps here, it's not going to be true in every case because the keyboard is not symmetrical. So let's look and see what happens here. All right, I know they're both supposed to be on a line because that's how perfect fifths look. So instead of counting, I can just go like this. I skip that line in the middle. And I can always count if I need to verify that that's a fifth, but I know that it is. Now this one, it's got a B and an F in it. And so when I play it on the keyboard, because I know about the keyboard, I know it's going to sound really dissonant. So let's see if that's true. So here's the F. And if I walk down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there it is. Okay, so this indeed is not a perfect fifth, very dissonant sounding. And